blogger didn't call me. He waited until the second week. I was ready to give up on him. From that time on, though, we spent almost every weekend together until he went back to Mass that October. From then on, I joined him in Mass for the month of November and again for another month in February. When he came back to Canada, we spent every weekend together. We kept this pattern until finally I retired and time was ours. We came together at a time when neither of us had family obligations that younger couples face. Our kids were growing and already self-sufficient. Garry had grandkids. Mine were yet to arrive on the scene. Yes, kind of like 20-somethings. No, we didn't look like 20-somethings. But with way more life experience and perhaps way more tolerance of our partners' idiosyncrasies. That's a very good thing. Garry and I shared many of the same passions, hiking and travel being two of my favorites. We hiked together for over a decade, exploring local trails and some of the best hiking trails in the Rockies. We backpacked, tented, and overnighted in alpine huts in Germany, and 4 years ago we walked over 450 kilometers on the Northern Camino route in Spain with two of our very dear friends. Garry was truly amazing. He was strong, pretty much fearless, and thank goodness for me, not afraid of heights, because we got into trouble a few times. Garry loved to cook and bake. As per Garry's nature, he always immersed himself in the process fully. One example was bread making. He went as far as to grind his own flour in his own flour mill, which is still in my garage if anyone is interested. So let me know. He burned out at least 3 bread machines in the process of perfecting this specialty. But he did perfect a gluten-free bread made especially for his niece, Courtney. Let's see. A second example was dehydrating food. For our hiking trip to Mount Assiniboine, Garry dehydrated all of our dinner meals. Of course, I would have just gone to Mac and bought them. And I mean all of them. Yes, 5 days worth, salads, main courses with meat, and even dessert. To say that other camping groups in the cooking hut were impressed was an understatement. I think our dinner was the evening's highlight, just to see what we were going to have next, because it was so amazing. That's only a tiny glimpse into what life was like with Garry. Our adventures, our treasured moments. Life in Mass, extra special for me. But it is really the day-to-day things that made life with Garry so very special. Garry was a joy to be with. He was easygoing, seldom moody, interested in people and all things around him. While he was the most easygoing guy ever, he also was disciplined in his daily rituals. He worked on his Sudoku, puzzles, and Spanish most mornings. Garry said he had no regrets and thought he had been very fortunate to have lived the life he had. He became very emotional when he talked about how blessed he felt with family and friendships he had throughout his lifetime. That's a pretty great way to feel when one knows that the end of life is near. I loved him, and I miss him. My memories do bring comfort. To Garry, to life, don't waste it or take it for granted. Garry did not. As we talked about some of his many interests and talents, Garry was also so passionate about his art. Whether it was charcoal drawings, acrylic, water, or oil paintings, he would take lessons and practice. We have brought with us today many of the items that Garry created, otherwise known as Dad. We have printed off copies of an original hand-painted watercolor card that we wanted to share with you. To again say thank you for coming and celebrating Garry's life with us today. Garry, a father, a brother, a spouse, a grandpa, an uncle, a brother-in-law, father-in-law, cousin, teacher, friend, colleague. He would be thrilled to see you all here today. Garry was extremely social. Cheers to you, Garry.
So as Hollis mentioned, we did at the start when you guys got your name tag, hopefully everyone has a name tag so we know who you are and how your relationship to Garry was. As she mentioned, we did print off one of Dad's cards. He did a whole bunch of hand-painted water art cards. We duplicated the one that we liked the best that represented bright colors and we thought would be fitting for today. So make sure if you didn't get one, make sure you grab one and have that because it's a Garry original and we are very proud of it. We're going to start with food. Roberto, are you there? Is Roberto there? Oh, hi. So what we're going to do is we have a little surprise. Aunt Betty and Uncle Rob have a surprise for us while we're having dinner. So we're going to start on this side. You guys have the Father's Walk. I know, right? I take tips. We're going to start on that side first, and that whole row can go up and grab some tacos. We have 2 beef, a chicken, a pork, and 2 vegetarian. See? Yeah. And rice and beans, 2 waters, hibiscus, pina tabache, see, which is I looked it up because I didn't know what it was. It's a fermented Mexican kombucha. So please, that last row, go and dish up. And our little surprise from Aunt Betty and Uncle Rob will be here shortly. I will let the next table go, and then we'll continue through.